Nick already handled his part.
I don't need to be that graphic.
I'm gonna blame it on the street.
On what?
Street first.
I don't blame you a bit.
I started in the city of Newark, and I hit every single light on State Route 79 from Newark to Heath City Hall. There's no way they can be timed right. No way to move traffic.
They got that new license plate software recognition. They saw your plate, they turned red immediately.
Must have been something like
Someone's got it out for you, John.
I guess.
I know somebody named Geller can give me peace of mind. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's called talking over the wall.
I know that guy. I know that guy.
Recognize him.
John, is my stuff in your way at all?
Mayor, he's doing basketball games.
Oh, he's over announcing the game. That's why he's not here.
Yeah.
Got a game tomorrow night, too.
I know.
I guess we're not important enough.
I guess not.
Making too much money over there on the side.
Kind of pass these around. These are delinquents if you want to look at those.
Are they
Look at that.
Here's the agenda.
Good copy.
any difference?
I printed one, go ahead. I printed one from home. He can have it.
We got any pictures of Nick in here tonight? Is that the reason he's here?
Nick supervisor?
Take one of those and pass them around. I think there's two different ones. Or no, maybe they're all together.
Yeah,
Must be all.
it's prettier than these.
Here we go.
I just like we get handouts.
We just killed a tree.
You need a survey?
Things to look at.
Did you get one of these?
Did you stay on 9 o'clock Saturday night?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, here's another handout.
My brother won the 580
I didn't get
numbers
any.
Friday night.
Oh, really?
The
I
daily.
didn't get that one.
Oh, you didn't get that? I was gonna leave some extras. We ought to probably leave 2 sets extras, put in Edwards and Brian's box.
Thank you.
Yeah, just leave all the extras there and I'll throw them in the box or whatever.
You know what?
Wow.
What was that first one you? Oh, do you have the delinquent accounts? Is it down there somewhere?
There's not everyone's got a copy. I mean, if you can just copy it around, I think I got 4 or 5 of them. But I think it should go pretty quick. So.
I'll give it back. My name's not on it.
What the heck is that?
That's not looking good. You got the blue screen to start out with.
What the heck is that?
Beta weird.
It was really funny as I came in earlier today and started things up and everything went fine. But,
That's what they all say. You know that, don't you?
Let's see. Restart your computer if the screen appears again. Follow these instructions. Yeah, I hope it don't have a virus or something.
Is that internet hooked up? Is it?
yes.
Is the internet hooked up? Is that?
Let's try to turn it on one more time. It's gonna kind of just throw a damper into things if that keeps happening. Okay. We're ready to get started.
First topic we'll talk about, we're going to get into water first. We're going to talk a little bit about the water plant improvements, things that are going on at the water plant. I'm going to kind of show you a little progression of how the clarifier at the water plant has proceeded. We started with the base of the concrete. Then once we had the base in, we started with the steel structure that goes around the concrete, which helps reinforce the concrete. Then we started forming up the outside of the walls, so we put braces around there, and also that is where the concrete in this location is loaded in to form the tank. This is a 16 influent line that's coming from that brand new clarifier that'll go into the plant. We did a pressure test on that line. We had to hold so many PSI for a couple hours to make sure there's not a lot of pressure, it's just a lot of volume on that line. So we went ahead and did a pressure test. Then we proceeded to form things up. That's probably about 3 yards of concrete. It's bucketed in that way. They did it that way. I mean, there's other ways of doing it. You can pump it in, or you can bucket it in like that. That's probably about 3 yards of concrete right there. There's 240 cubic yards total in that clarifier. So it would take probably a little over 90 buckets to do the sidewalls. As you can see, it's going from fall. You'll see it go from fall to winter. Things have pretty much stopped now, but they're forming up another portion of the walls there.
Now that 240 cubic yards is for the wall?
Yes.
Just for the wall?
Yep. There's how they load it in the bucket, and then the bucket goes out over with a crane. They take the crane out over, and then they pull down on the handle and it releases it all down in there. Then they have vibrators that they vibrate the concrete down inside so they don't get honeycombed. All the concrete, every single truck is tested to make sure that it's the right strength. There's a testing company that comes on site. They take what they call slump test. They take a slump test back, and then they see how much pressure they can apply to that before it'll break. But about every other truck was tested. There's what it looks like on top after we've gotten done forming it, vibrating it in. We smooth the top out. Once this sets up, then you take the forms down and you go to the next portion of it. We don't do all the forms at once. The forms are, you do like it's probably about a fourth of the tank every time to do the walls. As you can see, it's progressing there. We almost have the entire clarifier formed in. They were starting on this side now. Right here is there'll be a pipe gallery that's right here. It'll go down inside, and every once in a while you have to back flush this clarifier because you have to blow lime sludge off to the lagoon out back periodically because you can't allow that lime sludge to keep building up. There's this progressing a little bit further. A lot of steel in there, a lot of concrete. There was the last portion of the wall here. You can see how smooth and how nice that all looks. Did a good job. It's pretty much completed. Looks like they had a little section right here to do. See the lime out back. These holes around here help hold the forms in. Those will all be patched in.
John, is there just a butt joint between them, or do they do like a little keyway?
It's a little keyway. Okay. It's a little keyway fits in there. Keyways in. So then we did a static water test on it, and basically we filled it full of water. let it set for several days, make sure there wasn't any water coming out anywhere from the side walls.
Could have a nice leg shrink.
Then we start backfilling. So we've done a lot of the electrical, a lot of stuff I didn't show you that went in there. There's electrical that goes in there, there's new water lines, there's all kind of stuff that's been severed and repaired to put that in there. That's all been fixed. And there's more backfill, and then those have to, the compression on that, they vibrate all that fill in. Most of that fill's been brought in from, it's fill that's brought in by truckloads, so that we get the right compaction, so that we don't have any kind of settling or anything around the tank. Because on top of this will go asphalt and concrete on portions of this. Out here there'll be asphalt, and then here there'll be concrete. They'll be put in between two clarifiers. There you can see it progressing up, the backfill, and that's what they've been working on most of the winter, is just re-backfilling everything. Estimated schedule at the water plant: upgrade, clarifier number 4 completion. Clarifier will be totally done March 30th. Now they started bringing in the steel now, so if you go there now, you'll see a bunch of steel laying on the sides of the tank, and the steel goes on top. There's a big cone that sets in the middle, and that kind of stuff. So that'll be completed March 3rd, around March 30th. Site piping is pretty much done. Everything in the ground has been completed. Flow splitter chambers completed. That's where we had to add an extra. Once the water comes in and it's aerated, then it goes to a splitter that splits between the two clarifiers. So that's completed. Site completion will be in May. That'll be when you start seeing asphalt put down, concrete put back, all that. Pump building will be done in April 6th, and what's in the pump building is just new pumps. So all the new pumps and high service pumps will be done in April 6th. Now this is estimated schedule. It doesn't always go as planned, doesn't it?
No.
Demolition of clear well number 1 will be completed in April 6th too. So the demolition of the old clear well that we're getting rid of, that was too small, that really didn't do anything, will be completed in April. Does anybody have any questions on the water plant?
Are there deadlines in the contract that match these?
Yes.
Are
I don't know the exact deadline date, but this is all within the deadline.
Are there incentives or penalties if they don't?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's
On
penalties.
this?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There is. They've been moving along real good. Everything's been pretty much staying on schedule. Okay, if you guys look at the water survey, the information that I passed out.
There's big lettering on here?
That big lettering. That's kind of, I don't know if, did you get the graphs, Jeff? There should be more down there. More graphs?
Yeah, you got it.
There should be more.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, if you want to look at that.
You get one.
If you want to look at that now. Basically what you have there is, I'm going to kind of update you on the water survey. This is a survey to kind of remind you what it was. It was a survey to see if we have any potential water customers, or if people would potentially like to tap onto city water. Basically in between State Route 13 and Linville Road, that section that kind of juts up in the city there. Interested maybes, we had 57, not interested 87. We passed out 282 surveys were sent out. Of the 282 surveys, 144 surveys were received back, which is 51% return. So we had a 51% return of all the surveys that were passed out.
That's about average for surveys, isn't it?
I think so. You know.
I think that's high for surveys.
Really?
I think it's really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's very good.
When they're not required to, or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. You know, I mean, the only incentive we gave them was a self-post stamp.
Yeah.
So was a
Oh.
post stamp on an envelope. That was the only incentive for them. We didn't offer them like $1 if they returned it back in. You ever seen that where they give you like $1 if you turn a survey back in?
Yeah, I
Anyway.
never know what to do with the dollar because I don't send it back.
Anyway, 282 surveys were sent out. Of the 282 surveys, 144 surveys were received, which we had about 51% returned. We had 57 interested or maybes, 87 not interested. So basically, if you break it down, we had 40% of the residents interested or maybe interested, 60% not interested. I didn't think that was too bad. So that was kind of interesting. Again, I want to go over exactly the area that we're talking about. This is State Route 13 right here. This is Franklin Avenue. This is Forest Hills. This is Linville Road, to give you an idea. So we were basically looking at this area right here where it kind of juts up into the city and thinking that, you know, be easy to supply them water, pretty easy. So I broke it down into sections. I did like different districts. In the different district, this district here is Linville, Overdrive, Vicky Lane, and Rosemary area, which is basically this area right here. It's Linville Road. It's this. There's an addition right here. Rosemary's off here, and then there's Overdrive. If you're familiar with that. Yeah. On that, 37% were interested or may be interested. 63% were against. Or I don't know.
Not interested.
Not interested. What'd say
It
against?
says their sewer's working.
Yeah. Well,
Their septic tank's
Septic
presently.
tank's working right now.
a lot of it, if you look on the survey data if you look at a lot of those comments, if you get a chance to look at, a lot of people, cost was involved. A lot of them thought there's a lot of interesting questions there, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on our website. Some of these questions that people may have, either put it on the website or maybe have another mailing where we mail like the top so many questions that people may have. We mail it back out to them so that they have answers. Some of them said, "Well, I prefer well water." Well, we have well water. You know, that's what we had, was well water. You know, some people didn't like the chemicals. Some people didn't like the price. I can't remember all the different comments.
They just invested in a new well.
Yeah, a lot of them, they
Great,
just
had
just
one.
replaced my well,
Yeah.
just replaced the pump, just, you know, stuff like that. So the second edition we looked at was Misty Meadows, Dorsey Mill, and Markland area, which a little better here. 43% interested or maybe interested, 57% against. And to kind of let you know where that area is, what did I say that was? Misty Meadows, yeah. That would be this area right here, and this addition right here. So you're looking at kind of this section here, and this section of Dorsey Mill. The other section we did was Lemar Heights area. We had 38% interested or may be interested, 62% against. So, to let you know where that area is, that's Lemar Heights is right here. It would be this section of Dorsey Mill and Lemar Heights.
And again, all we're offering is water.
That's all we're offering is water. You know, that was another comment that was made. Yes, I'd be interested if you offered me water and sewer. It can be done. There's just more cost involved. There's a couple more lift stations involved. So anyway, like I said, I'm thinking about maybe answering some of these comments that were made, or questions that were made. How I'm going to go about doing it, I'm thinking about either putting it on our website. I may do both. I may put it on our website and then maybe mail some of the questions out that people may have. Where we go from here, I'm not sure. You know, do we pursue this anymore? Can I tell you, if we run water lines in these areas in 10 years, 75% of the people will probably tap on? Yeah, I think there would be. You know, whether we want to pursue this, something we're going to have to discuss. We're going to have to talk about. What I'm kind of thinking about doing is maybe doing like a little study on it. Use one of the local engineering firms, have them think how long it would take us to pay that debt off. What would be the estimated cost in there? How long it would take? I think it's a study that wouldn't involve a lot of money. I'm thinking about possibly doing that. Okay, I'd like to go ahead and pass this sheet out if I could.
You know which one of these areas would be the least expensive yet?
Lee Martin, sorry. Lee Martin.
Because your interested numbers are worse than that.
Yeah. That's what I thought. You know, when I broke them down, I thought, yeah, I'd get one area that really wanted it. You know, but it was kind of
Pretty about the same.
not the same all
If you're
across the board.
gonna spec it, do the least expensive for
Yeah.
stipulation and.
I mean, we could take a portion. We could say, hey, let's supply water to Lee Martin. Invest a
Have
little
it
bit.
available.
Invest a little bit of money in that area. You know, the thing I really want to stress is, and I know you guys know this, especially the people that have been here for a long time, Cletus, but we sit on the biggest aquifer in Lincoln County. Everything else around us that can produce as much water as we can is surface water. Surface water is not the most dependable source of water. Groundwater is. And I think we need to market our water.
We got a lot of it.
Yeah, we got a lot. And, you know, it's definitely a benefit. I mean, we have the benefits to do this. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about critical. Does anyone else have anything about the water survey or any questions that they'd like to ask me about the water survey? I'll go on to the next topic, which is critical projects on the horizon. These are projects that I feel that are most important and that will be coming up in the future. I have marked up here, replace WCLT tank and dual feed to the west side of town. If you look at the handout that I passed out, replacement of WCLT tank, why? The water tank is 57 years old and in need of repair. I think I got an estimate on the repairs that it was going to be $25,000 to $30,000. And you still have a 57-year-old tank. Basically what they do is they go in, they clean the inside of it out real good, reseal the inside, patch the holes and different things, reinforce the roof, because the roof is where we're having the problem. Over the years, when you had chlorine that's been added to water and you have metal, the support structure on the roof is getting thin. So they'd have to go in, put all new I-beams inside there, weld everything back up.
Hey, John, ask a question here. If we do this now, replace the water tank and, you know, increase the size of that would make it better if we do add those people on. Would that be where the source came from?
Yes.
Okay.
So the tank is too small for future development on the east side. That's number two. We have updated feed lines to the tank and pump facility just in our last upgrade on Licking View Drive, and then the new water line we put in on Franklin Avenue. And more reliable for fire protection. I know right now John Appleman's our distribution chief, and he's kind of concerned about that roof falling in someday. Now I did have it inspected, and when I had it inspected, I asked the guy, I said, how critical is it for us to make a repair? He said, if you're thinking about making a repair, if you're thinking about putting up a new tank anyway, he goes, if you go another 3 to 5 years, I don't think you're going to have any problems. So that was his, and that was evaluated last summer.
Do we get a lot of buildup of snow on top of this thing?
You can.
That's probably why it's
Not real bad. It's a cone shaped on the top of that. But what we've done in the past, and it's been done several times, we actually get holes in the top of that tank. We have to go up and weld them shut. So 1957. It's 56 years old, right, Jeff? Isn't that about when we were born? 57, 58. And you know how you feel.
You're much older than me. 6 months?
6 months. And we know how we feel, right? So can you imagine?
That's what I was gonna ask.
Well, if you'd asked me before I shoveled all the snow the last 3 days, I'd feel a lot better than I do right now.
Well,
Cause my snowblower isn't working right.
I was born at 37, John,
I got
and
one
I'm
I'll sell ya.
76.
Oh, okay.
I got one I'll sell you too.
I'll be 77 this year. So that's
Yeah.
getting on.
Fired right up when the weather was warm.
You look good, though. It's really
Huh?
good. You're in good shape. Though, for that. That's good. The other thing I want to talk about, and I think, these two projects should be put into one project. The other project I want to talk about briefly is, we'll talk a little bit about, is the dual feed to the west side of town. Basically, why I'd like to see a dual feed to the west side of town is we have a bottleneck right now. We have a water line that goes 12 inches out to Thornwood Drive. And when you get on Thornwood Drive, it goes from 12 to 8 inches. And it goes so far 8 inches, and then it goes back to 12 inches. And then that's what feeds the west side tank. So for future industrial expansion, it'll require a dual feed to the west side. I think we're okay with the industry we have now, and even to add some industry. But there's been a lot of talk of future development out in that side of town. They're talking especially off of Beaver Run Road. I want to be able to supply water to Beaver Run Road, that area, because I think anything off of Beaver Run Road, I think is going to be the hot area for industry. So if we have this dual feed to the west side, there's no question that we can supply as much up Beaver Run Road as possible. I wanted to talk a little bit about going back to the tank now. I wanted to talk about the different styles of tanks. This is what they call a composite tank, which I checked into that. And what it is it's a concrete tank on the bottom with steel on the top. Sometimes they'll put a bolt together tank on top. I found out that they don't make a composite tank with a capacity of about 250,000 gallons, which is what I'm thinking about what we need over there. Right now the tank size is 133,000 gallons at CLT, and then CLT feeds Blue Jay tank, which is 250,000. So we have a 133,000 gallon tank feeding a Blue Jay tank that's 250,000 gallons. So we need to make WCLT tank at least 250,000 gallons. So the composite was,
A low price of how much?
I'll show you here. Composite tank was too small. They don't make a composite tank with a 250,000 gallon tank. So I don't know if anyone's familiar with a pedosphere tank. You see these around a lot now. They're a real well structured tank. Pedosphere elevated storage tank, current cost, a 250,000 gallon tank is about $750,000. Okay. And what's good about this tank is you're getting all the 250,000 gallons up in the air, which is what gives you your water pressure. A lot of the tanks we put in now are standpipe tanks. They're one solid tank. And then half of that amount is supported by water. So you have more steel. And everyone kept saying this is when we put the one up on the west side, everyone kept saying, well, it's cheaper than pedosphere style. Well, it's not. This is a style of tank that, if we go with a tank, is what I think we should put up there. The other tank is a fluted column elevated tank. These are the tanks you see in the city of Columbus all the time. If you're going out Interstate 70 or going out 270 or somewhere, you'll see two of these tanks put together in the city of Columbus. And the reason why they put two of them together, they can take one down and service it while the other one's still up. Smaller cities can't afford that kind of thing. But this is what you see. A lot of times they put storage under here. This is steel on the bottom and steel on the top. That tank, current cost for 250,000 gallon tanks, $1,200,000.
Now, the one for 750,000.
That is fair.
What was it?
It's 250,000 gallon.
No, I mean, this is the one you just
It's
showed.
all
the
steel. Pedosphere is all steel.
Oh, okay.
The tanks that we've been putting up lately, which I can't complain about, are bolted tanks. They're basically agricultural tanks, and they conform them so that they'll hold water. And if you go up and look at them, they're all bolted. Every single section's bolted. I can't complain about him. I never liked him. I didn't care for him. But I mean, I didn't have anything to say about him except that I was going to take that one on the west side, and that's the way it was going to be because it was already engineered and it was done. I can't really say that I can complain about them. I haven't had any problems with them. And they've done well. We've got one tank that's been up 15 years. But if you, in order to get a tank to hold 250,000 gallons up in the air like this, then you're going to have to put a 500,000 gallon tank in because the bottom part of it holds a 250,000 gallon tank up in the air. You know what I'm talking? How I'm talking? I can kind of show you here.
The higher you put the greater mass, it creates more pressure.
Yeah. So on a standpipe, which is what we call this type, half of that tank at the bottom of it is full of water to get your higher pressure on the top. So, to me, my opinion is the pedosphere style, and it's the cheapest. It's the cheapest style tank to put in.
Cheaper than what we got on Sunray Road?
I think it is. Yeah.
That was $1 million out there.
That was $1 million out there. They're telling me this pedosphere 200. Now you got to remember that's a 500,000 gallon tank because you're using the 250,000 of it to hold the other 250,000 gallons up in the air.
Is the output from those at the bottom, or?
It's at the bottom.
I was gonna ask if it takes more pump pressure to fill that tank.
This style tank.
Yeah.
The pumps that we have now, that when we upgraded the pump station, that's why, you know, I was talking about, you know, when we did the lift station, I mean the pump station, and we did all that, we prepared that pump station to handle this type of tank. So we're right on board with if we want to go to that stuff.
What, are you saying now that one, that $750,000 one, it's all steel?
It's all steel,
Is it
solid
welded
steel.
or bolted?
It's welded. Welded steel tank. And you don't see, you know, the old style tanks where you have the four legs. Those are a maintenance nightmare. I mean, they still do, but you don't see them very often.
Like the original we had.
The one we knocked down at Kroger's.
What type of, on that type of steel tank, how long is it, what kind of metal do you have to, do you have, one of you have to, I know the old ones we had at the Air Force, but we had to paint that thing in tinted.
There's more maintenance involved, and that's another, the glass line ones. I keep thinking we're out of
Shed
power out
some
there.
light, yeah.
I kept looking for the computer to go.
I thought it'd be all right since the mayor wasn't here, but
Yeah.
still acting up.
Still active. That's another good thing about the bolted style tank. You know, and we haven't had them long enough now to see how it's going to work, but we had had one 15 years. They're glass lined, so there's no rust. You know, so there's steel there, and there's glass on each side. So we don't have no maintenance on them. The only thing we do to them is power wash them on. That's another point. You know, we're going to have to evaluate to see if we want to go that style, but you're going to have more money in that style tank if you want the same amount of water up in the air.
What's your timeline in,
No, go ahead.
Good.
what's your timeline in, what do you got in capital improvement?
Well, we can talk about that here. I'll show you what we got in capital improvement. But this is basically what's going to happen. End of 2017, you had $3.5 million coming off in debt service. The combination of these two, I'll talk a little bit about, if you guys familiar with the area, this is WCLT radio station. We have always called this a WCLT tank. Here's the tank right here. We'd probably move this down and center it more in the middle. May have to raise it up a little bit, but it's right on the property line. I don't know why it was. And that's the location where the tank's at. If you're not familiar where WCLT is, I'll talk a little bit briefly about the dual feed to the west side too. Try to put these two projects together someday. Basically what we're doing is this is connector road. This is State Route 79. This is Thornwood Drive. This is Seminary. Your water line has to go from here to here to here, which is about 4,263 feet. Current estimated costs in 2015 to do that job, that's next year now. Next year. Your new tank, I took the cheapest tank, the 750,000 gallon. Dual feed to the west side of town is going to be about 600,000. Total cost is going to be about 1.3 million. Into 2017, 3.5 million comes off debt service. So about half of what we borrowed will be paid off. Personally, I hate waiting until 2017. We may, but we will be doing a study in 2014. Remember we talked about a financial analysis every 4 years? Well, we're getting to that point again where we're going to do another financial analysis in 2014. Whether we could start a little bit earlier than the end of 2017, I mean, there may be a possibility depending on how financially we are off, what we have in debt service and our capital improvements and so forth. But these are the projects I see on the horizon. I really think they're important projects, especially for the future, going to the west side. The dual feed is needed for that. We got the tank and everything there. But a dual feed would help if we get a lot of nice industry in there that uses some water. That would help out tremendously. If we don't, again, we have that bottleneck that I talked about where we went from a 12 to an 8 back to a 12. No matter how much we try to force through there, it's still bottlenecked. We had the bottleneck on the east side when we replaced that line. I did a lot of talking about that. We got that bottleneck taken care of on the east side. So now we're talking about the bottleneck on the west side.
How much would it cost to take that 8-inch out and make it all 12-inch?
It'd be expensive probably. But you still want a dual feed because if you have a water main break or something like that, what it does is it allows you to bring water in the backside or the front side. So the dual, even though we replaced that, the dual feed is something that needs to be done on that side of town. So I wanted to throw that out there. You're going to hear a lot more of it in the future about it. I'm going to kind of just keep pushing it along, see how we do.
Number one priority for capital improvements.
These will be number one priority for capital improvements in the water. Yep. Wastewater, with the replacement fund, we're building money up in the replacement fund, and as we need to replace things down there or add, replace or update things, then we can use that money to update different processes down there. Which is, we remember the jet aeration that we did about a year ago. Money was taken from the replacement fund. I can show you that. At the end, Jeff, here I got all the major funds of how much money is it.
First time I think we saw that was several years ago when they did that safety study, of parts of the city where we did, if we had a major fire, the fire department, we just didn't have the capability to put out a huge fire.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, the tank you have out there is good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it was a great improvement. It increased the pressure to everybody in that industrial zone. It was one portion of the pie that we need to finish things up. So now we need to go to the second portion of the pie to make it complete. So that if we have a major industry that goes in on Beaver Run Road, and the Hebron's sitting there, and we're sitting there, and we already got our tank there, and we're going to be able to, we got dual feed to that tank. We've already got the water out there. We got 500,000 under the ground. We got 500,000 above the ground. We're ready to go.
I was saying that's why we went with that. I mean, I've never heard you say you didn't care for that.
That tank? I got into a big fight with Mr. Dumps on that tank. And he didn't, I told him I didn't care for that tank. I'm not saying anything against, I can't say anything against
the first time you've ever expressed yourself in this manner. And it's great that you're being candid and honest, but I remember improvement of pressure and just mere capacity were the with the two biggies for using that type of.
The reason why I don't like that tank, first of all, one reason I didn't like the tank is because you're using all that water to get the two, and I feel it was a waste.
I understand.
And I worry about the bolts in the tank over a period of years. I mean, if you saw them how they put it together, I mean, they basically, there's a sheet and it's kind of coned. It's like an erector set. They put that in there and then they have all these bolts and then they put grease in between. They're like that and they mold it down. That's how you do it. It's not welded. It's not, I mean, it's great for agricultural. I mean, if you go to any farm, you're going to see that style tank. I mean, they put grain in it. I mean, that's basically where it started from. It was meant to be for powder, grain, and that's what those tanks were designed for. We've had good luck with it. There's a lot of people that have it. Aetna has one. But what they did was they put it on a composite pole, and then they put a bolt style tank on top. They're cheaper. I mean, if you put that all in metal and weld it, that tank would be very expensive. They're a lot cheaper that way. But I was told when I first came in, the engineering was done. And I knew, and I talked to Mr. Dupps about it, and he said that that's the style tank we're putting up. And we did it. And it's been good. And the one at Blue Jay's been good too. And it's 15 years old. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at on pricing on that. Talk a little bit about wastewater now, unless anyone's got any questions on projects on the horizon. I kind of went through the estimated completion dates on that. I just kind of wanted to mention briefly that I mentioned to you about the financial model that we've had done. We had it done 4 years ago. They've already have a financial model for us. Arcadis does, which used to be Malcolm Perney. The gentleman who does that, he'll replug things in. What he does is he takes projects like this, plugs it into your financial model to see when you can afford to do it. So that study will be done this year. Questions on water? Any questions on water? Okay. Go ahead and go to wastewater. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on now. We're replacement of a gear reduction system on the south clarifier. We had a gear reduction system go bad, so we're going to be doing some replacing on that. Wanted you guys to be aware of that. We're working on a switchover valve on a multi-stage blower. Completion of a new sewer liner second phase at the post office was completed at the end of 2013. We're also working on the James Parkway lift station block heater was repaired. Currently looking at replacing a 22-year-old windows in the wastewater main building. Getting pricing on that. I don't think it's going to be too bad. I think we're looking at about somewhere between $7,500 to $8,500 to replace all the windows. They're just very, I don't know, Nick, maybe you might want to comment on the windows.
They're the old aluminum frame crank out style window, and they're just very drafty. Very, very drafty. I mean, you can see the frost building up on them.
It's got to help us on heating the building. I mean,
I would think so.
We got, actually in the lunchroom, we have an electric heater that try to keep the doors shut and everything so we can just heat that room and keep it comfortable.
That's the room furthest away from the gas furnace, without the electric heat in it.
And we're adding a new computer to the RAS pump building. We've had problems with that computer, and we're in the process of replacing it. It's just like any computer, once it gets some age on it, it's got to be replaced. So these are things that are currently going on the wastewater side. I wanted to let you guys know we had a main break at the wastewater plant. So we had the wastewater crew there and we had the water crew. Water was coming out of the side of the pavement right here. This is brand new pavement, by the way, on the upgrade we did in 2010 at this building here. So it seems like it never fails. As soon as they pave a street, we have a main break on it.
What was that, contractor doing something with sewer plant, putting some kind of pipe along the edge of the,
Yeah, that was a gas line, wasn't it? They were replacing the gas line.
I thought it was gas.
Anyway, so, we're thinking that it's on the edge of the concrete break. So we saw up a portion of it. We have our own saw. That's how we do that. Sawed out the section. Everything where we think the main break's at. We think the main break's right here because it's coming out over here, the water, and I think the main break's here. So then we start, once you cut it, then you gotta start ripping it out. Sometimes we use a hook, sometimes we use a small bucket. Well, guess what? We dug that up, and that isn't where it was. It was a little bit further in the middle of the new asphalt. So our concrete saw only goes about 6 inches. And I think we had to call in a company that has a saw that goes down about 12 inches. If you can see here how thick that is. So we got down that far, ripped it out. You see this ripple right here. That's where the main break is. And we put a clamp around it. And we were done with that project. I wanted to show you how nice everything looked when we got done with Fox Run here. This is the upgrade we did to get rid of the 2 lift stations. I might have shown you this, I can't remember if I did or not, but they did a good job grading that out. That's the one Nick was an inspector on. Back here we had some complaints. If you can look right here, you'll see like some logs and stuff and the neighbors right back here didn't like to look at those logs here. So in the spring we're going to have to go in and probably remove some of them because they said that weren't there before. And how come it's clear on behind everyone else's house, but this right here behind my house, it's got some debris there. So if everybody happy, we'll probably just go in and cut some of that up and get it out of there. And we'll probably just do it ourselves unless I did tell the contractor he may do it. We'll see where we stand on that. What do you think, Nick? I'm not good.
50-50, and it depends.
Yeah.
I think
They'll claim it was already, what they'll claim is it was already there and they shoved it to the side. Well, some of it was already there and some of it wasn't. So, I don't know how that's going to go. But they seeded that and strawed it, didn't they, Nick?
yeah.
That's all done.
And that's why we couldn't ask them to come in right now because it would just tear up all this.
Yeah, if they came in now and tried to do it, I mean,
I think they're going to have to come back because actually right where the tank was for the lift station, I don't expect any of that seed to grow. It was so late in the season when they put it down and it was so wet and stuff. I'll be surprised if any of that grows.
So they need to come back.
yeah, they'll have to come back.
Bring a big truck. Look for debris. Brush. Log.
That's kind of my thought, yeah.
Some other things I'll be talking about in the spring is we will be in the wastewater. We'll be doing some cammering of sewer lines, and then we check to see what things. Sometimes we have to do point repairs, which is what we found out with the post office and different things like that.
I'd just like to smile and hand the contractor a change order and say, here you go. Take care of that for us.
So they haven't said that they would. I mean, we've contacted them. They acted like they would do it. So I'm hoping, you know. We put covers. Of course, you can see it's kind of nice out here, but I don't think I ever got a chance to show you guys this. But on some of the tanks, we put covers on them because there's a lot of nutrients in the wastewater and the sun, and you get these tremendous algae blooms inside the tanks. So we started covering some of our tanks to cut down on the algae and just try to make it look a little better. So we did this tank. We covered it with a material, and then we hold it down. So we actually did a couple tanks, one in the back and then one on the
This
side.
particular tank is the final tank after it's been chlorinated and dechlorinated before it goes to the river, and we're required to have the
Right.
oxygen demand there,
Mm-hmm.
and that if you get too much algae and stuff, it'll tend to lower that. So to keep that oxygen demand up, it's better not to have the algae build up.
And then, basically, that's kind of what's going on in wastewater. I'll have more on wastewater coming up here in probably next committee meeting. But does anyone have any questions about wastewater? Kind of want to talk about your major funds. I just put them up here. Your water operating fund, Jeff, 1,680,000, 1.6. Water capital improvements are about 300,000. Wastewater operating funds about 1.6. Wastewater capital improvement funds about 190,000, and wastewater replacement funds is about 800,000. Mm-hmm. Other than that, that's all I've got tonight. If anyone's got any questions.
It's the wastewater replacement fund.
It's a fund that we put, I can't remember the exact amount. I think it's either 45,000 or 75,000. But every year we put money in a fund to, because wastewater is a little different animal than water. You have a lot of corrosiveness. You got a lot of gases you got to deal with. And you have a lot of repairs that need to be done quicker. So it's a fund that builds up over a period of time. Actually, the EPA required us to put it in when we got one of our loans. And they said, you need to have a replacement fund. Well, a lot of cities have blown through their replacement funds over the years. But most cities have been required to put in the replacement fund. What's good about this is it's money that accumulates every year. And you use that money for major expenses, for replacement of parts or motors or units or whatever that's at the wastewater plant. That's what we use that money to get rid of the 2 lift stations that we're going to replace the 2 lift stations with gravity sewers.
It's also like a rainy day fund type of thing.
Kind of.
Rainy day.
But you have a wastewater capital improvement fund as well.
Yes.
So how do you define what goes into what? What qualifies for what? Is there a formula or?
Well, capital improvements is more for new stuff, brand new. Replacement funds for stuff that you already have and you're replacing it. Like we're replacing a major pump at the wastewater plant because it was damaged. We're replacing the blowers and the digesters because the diffusers in there weren't efficient. Replacement fund is for replacement. Capital improvements is for new stuff. New sewer line going out here. That's how I define the difference.
Anything else? Thank you, sir. 6:25, meeting adjourned. Tim, could you lock the front doors?
Yeah.